As a business owner, nothing is more important for making profitable decisions than data. And for the future of business, I don't think anything will be more profitably important than AI. And today I've got Jadd Elliot Dib with me to talk about both of those things and also his platform to connect users or needers of data with providers of data. So Thanks a lot for being here, Jadd.
Thanks for having me.
Give me a bit of background. Tell me, where did your data journey begin?
I mean, if we go all the way back to university, I studied computer science, software engineering. So we were creating software, whether it be initially websites and then software that recognizes motion detection and things like that. That's probably the first time I was introduced to technological data, if you will. But besides that, then at the initial start of my career, it was IT auditing, cybersecurity, and I had a choice. Obviously, as a junior, you have a choice and you start thinking about what you want to specialize in. And I mean, understanding the future, understanding businesses and how they collect data in order to make, like you said, profitable decisions, I pretty much thought data is the future. So I specialized in data in consulting firms at the very start of my career, analyzing data. And I kind of enjoyed the fact that if you truly understand data and you know how to analyze it and you know how to read it, I mean, it's not a magic trick, but you can kind of statistically tell a little bit about the future. You can kind of see the future if we continue on a certain trend. Obviously, there's the anomalies. So statistically, maybe an 80% chance, 90% chance that it goes in one certain direction. And there's a small chance that it doesn't. But I always thought it would be great for a business to be able to tell where their business is going next year or the next year after that. Well, how do I allocate budgets? Things used to be done on gut feeling. And just for me, the answer was always data.
Did you want to be an entrepreneur or did you just like data for helping other people?
A little bit of both. I was never too fond of working for somebody else. That's just my mentality. Just making money for somebody else and getting paid pennies on the side. But besides that, I saw an opportunity. There was just an opportunity in the market. There was a gap, and I feel like I'm trying to work towards being a disruptor of the normal day-to-day that the world is so used to. We're all so used to going to a corporate world. We're also used to checking in 9 to 6, and we're also used to, at the end of the month, we have the comfort of our salaries coming in. And I think that's what kind of keeps everybody going, the salary at the end. You know that no matter what, if the business is doing okay, if it's doing great, if it's not doing great in some months, you're still going to get your salary. But that's what keeps everybody in this position that a lot of people claim that they're unhappy. They're unhappy with their 9 to 6. They want to spend more time with their families, or they want to have more freedom, or they want to explore different opportunities, different industries, which the corporate world might not allow them to. So I thought freedom is the major key factor.
When you were at uni, did you study computer programming yourself?
Yeah.
So I had a guest on the podcast a few days ago actually, who's an entrepreneur, owns a couple of AI related businesses, and we were talking about education and the future or the failings of the education system. And he was talking about AI and I guess how so many, let's say, decisions about your future and what educational paths are good to go down are based on AI or should be based on what AI can and can't do. And he was talking about that being a computer programmer used to be a very important and profitable skill, whereas now he would argue it's utterly pointless to learn it because it can be totally replaced by AI. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. And I think, but there's the other side of the coin is a lot of professions have become irrelevant in the recent years, not just because of AI, but before that. There are some things that people don't study anymore because the world has evolved. And people that are stuck in this old-minded, kind of old-fashioned way of thinking of, okay, I got to go to university. I got to think of what my profession is going to be. I'm going to study geography. I'm going to study history or journalism or computer science or whatever it is. And then I'm going to find a job in that. Actually, statistically speaking, I don't remember the actual number, but a very low amount of people that studied a specific profession actually end up doing that as their actual profession in the future, right? So whatever we study doesn't necessarily dictate what we go into as a job. And I think the world is changing, and gradually schools and all the education systems, university, will be forced to change. Maybe they're not currently, but they will be. They will be forced. They have to. If you don't adapt, you're forgotten.
Before having your own business, you worked both in a Big Four,
Yep.
And also in a boutique firm as well.
Yes.
How for a, let's say, a lay person or for somebody looking to hire, and not necessarily in data, but whether it's an accountant or anything that can be delivered by a Big Four or by boutique, what are the dirty secrets from the inside? And I guess my context or scene setting for that would be, the Big Four get a fantastic name or fantastic reputation for, they're the best accountants to this, that, and the other. And as a business owner who has bought my accounting and my audit from all kinds of people over the years, to me, it's absolute bollocks. Yes, they've got a big name, a big brand, and I'm not saying I don't occasionally use them on a certain company, because if I'm talking to investors, they get excited.
They want
by
a big name.
Whether they want it or whether they get excited by it. I can take an audit on one of my companies that would cost me $6 or $7 grand with a boutique firm, or literally 50 grand, 70 or 100 grand with a Big Four. Is the work any better? Sometimes I'd argue it's worse, but it's a price that I pay because it makes investors happy for 10 million instead of 1 million.
Sure.
That's my layman's opinion, or my, let's say, outsider looking in. What's it like inside the walls?
I'd say you're right on the money. It's a smoke screen. Sure, they've paid their dues, right? They worked years and years and years, if not almost 100 years they've been in existence, some of these companies. They've paid their dues to get to where they are. I understand that. I get that. But if that's what you're going to preach, then you have to also deliver the same thing. If that's what you're going to charge clients, then you should get what you pay for, right? And nowadays, unfortunately, it's not the case. And the case is, we're going to charge the client, overcharge the client immensely. And what are we going to do? Even if we don't have the talent, we're going to go somewhere, one of our offices throughout the world. Most of the cases, they go to their India office and they get talent. They find somebody that is able to do what the client is looking for. And they'll pay that employee per diems to come here to wherever it may be. In this case, is Dubai, right? They'll bring them here to Dubai. They'll send them off to the client. And essentially, they might be charging quarter, if not $500,000 dirhams to a big multi-million-dollar company, right? And what's their cost? Their cost is less than 20, 30,000 dirhams. Okay, fine. They say, yes, but then we go through all the process of, we go from the work being done by a junior to then going to a manager to then director and then partner. So you have all these different levels of kind of overview and feedback in order to get the quality of the report to the top. Is that the case? No, it's not. It's absolutely not. And that's why I would tell you, I'm a product of my environment. Part of the reason I wanted to start this is because I've seen it from the inside, and I think it's absolute crap. You're charging clients that some of the time they have the budget. They don't care about this money, right? They just want the stamp, the name at the end of the day. But some clients actually are very tight on budget, and they say, you know what, I'm going to go to the best. And by reputation, the best happens to be the Big Four. And they go to the Big Four, they invest all this money, and what do they get in return? Absolute crap. Something that maybe one or two people anywhere around the world, if they have the knowledge, they could do it themselves. But because we don't have that company stamp that will stamp the report at the end of the day that says this report was reviewed by all the partners at Deloitte or whatever, global Deloitte, and it's signed, that's, like you said, some people, some investors, some partners of those clients look for those reports, look for the comfort of knowing, okay, a big four firm has stamped off on this, so you know what, it's legit. But in fact, it's not at all. I mean, for me, my first experience, let me tell you, it was at a client. I won't name names, but I was thrown at the deep end. It was my first week, or actually maybe second week of being at Deloitte. So I was extremely junior, right? And they just introduced me to a client as what was it? A data center expert. So we were reviewing their data center, their safety measures, their cyber security behind it, their physical security behind the data center, just to protect all assets and so on. It was my second week. And then I asked my manager in charge, I told him, you just introduced me as an expert, all right? He's like, you have 24 hours to become an expert. You go home and now you read this content and you become an expert.
Did you get a pay rise as well?
No, of course not. I was getting paid peanuts. Not enough to cover rent, you know?
And I guess most business owners, entrepreneurs, I mean, when we hear about, or when we think of accountancy firms or, like big practices like Deloitte's, I mean, we think of them in the context of accounts, preparing accounts, doing audit. Where does the data come in? The cybersecurity, that kind of stuff. Are these, I mean, has this always been around, or are these new, I guess, new features or new parts of their product delivery that they offer, and which businesses need them?
I mean, all businesses need them nowadays. If you don't use your data, then you're going to start falling behind to your competitors, no matter what industry you're in. Data has always been there. It has come in different forms. During the start of my career, a lot of this software didn't exist. So most of the data that was being collected was on Excel sheets, very plain and simple. But before that, Excel didn't exist, but it doesn't mean data didn't exist. A lot of bookkeepers used to keep all their financials, everything by hand in their books, and that is essentially data. It's transferred now to become digital, sure, and now we can kind of use a massive amount of data, whereas before, obviously, if you want to analyze the past, I don't know, 5-10 years of a company's financials, they would have to go through a stack of books. Every year there was a book, accounting and whatnot. They're taking notes, profit, loss, and so on. But now it's just become so digitalized that you can analyze the past 5-10 years in less than a minute.
And give me a real life example of data. Its collection, its use, not financial, as in not P&L balance sheets, sure, but something else.
Sports.
Okay.
Sports is being applied right now. More recently than before, but it's being applied right now to apply strategies for certain players, for certain sports. If you want to talk about a team sport, then we talk about American football, NBA, basketball. They actually have teams and departments that are data analytics departments. They, according to their opponents, they will go, before they used to just watch film, right? And see a certain player's tendencies and see a certain coach's tendency to call a certain play. Now it's actually statistically, how many times does this player go to his left? How many times does he go to his backhand, if we want to talk about tennis? And there are certain players that have started to actually use it in depth. And the first one that comes to mind is Djokovic. Novak Djokovic is actually, he is extremely interested in data. And he will never do a match or even a training session without wearing one of his devices that collects data on his body, right? Just for his training team to see where he lacks.
And what different data points would he be collecting? I mean, obviously, what you said with the training thing on, maybe like heart or breathing, or whatever. But what about
besides that, opponent data?
What?
So he has a team that essentially throughout all the tournament, he will look at the opponents that are coming up that he will need to face, and he will have a team analyzing that opponent and telling him at the end of the day, look, this guy has a tendency to go to his forehand. If the rally between you guys goes beyond 10 shots, then he has a tendency to try and finish with a forehand. If you go to his left, his knee is slightly not injured, but like he's a bit weaker on his knee, so go a little bit lower. There's all these tendencies and strategies that people are applying according now to patterns. And a player can tell you as much as they want, yeah, but my play is random. There is a pattern within the randomness. So no matter what you want to say, as a human being, it's just human nature. You tend to do the same thing that works over and over and over again.
But if you know that, would you also try and do the opposite?
Yes,
the opposite?
of course. So that's why I would go back to initially what I told you. It's great to have data, and it's great to statistically say there's an 80% chance. Nothing is 100%. We'll never be able to tell the future to 100%. It's not a magic trick, right? But we can tell you with a good amount of certainty that this will happen. If it doesn't, okay, sure, it's an anomaly, and you adapt from there, right? Business-wise or sport-wise or whatever it is, right? But we're trying to tell you, you have a better chance if you use this strategy. And it applies to business, the same thing. You have a better chance if you apply certain things. Like now data is being applied to marketing, right? Marketing, we're going into an age where you say one word and you start receiving ads on your phone, on websites you visit and whatnot, right? And that's a collection of data. And how do they know that? Most of the time, because to be on somebody's platform, you've logged in. You've logged in using your email. What does your email have? Your age, your name, maybe your nationality, your IP address, where you currently located. It starts, which is not a really nice word to say because there's a kind of negative connotation, but profiling. It profiles you. It says, okay, you're a middle-aged man, you're a middle-aged woman, you have been, you're located in Dubai, you're interested in luxury. Very stereotypical, but right? It's just an example. So they start doing that. And there are airports and museums that have started doing that. When you connect to the airport Wi-Fi, right? What does it ask you? Asks you, do you accept terms and conditions? Please give me your email and nationality. That's it. That's all they need. That's all they need to profile you. They want a nationality because they're trying to profile as per nationality, right? So they can kind of tell what shops should go where according to the gates that are next to that. Are you traveling towards Asia? Are you traveling towards Europe? Okay, people that go towards Europe are more interested in XYZ. More people that are traveling to Asia, Hong Kong, Japan, China, whatever it is, are actually more interested in luxurious goods. All right, let's place certain shops over there. They make decisions according to this data, right? And they actually see you. When you connect to their Wi-Fi, they have a huge map in their control room. And you're a little dot on that map. And they see you walking. So they analyze your footfall.
And typically when a business owner or a manager of a business is working with someone in data science, when it's one thing collecting the data and then using it, who's typically coming up with the data points that they want to collect? Is that down to the data scientist people as well, or do the business owners tend to have a good feel of what they actually should be collecting?
It's a relatively new era where you can collect so much without having to justify it.
You just collect it.
So you can collect it, and maybe in the future you might only use 10 points right now out of the 20 that you collected, but in the future there might be a use for those 20. So any excuse companies can have to collect more and more data, they're doing it. I mean, what benefit do we have as a customer, right? Going to a retail shop, you buy something and then they ask you for your phone number. What benefit do I get? I'm just going to get spammed with a whole bunch of SMS messages and saying, okay, we're announcing XYZ. Okay, you didn't get me anything. I just gave you data for free. And that data is worth something, right? So if for me personally, when they ask me for my phone number, I ask them, what's in it for me? I'm not giving you something for free. You're going to profile me. You're going to put me on to a certain email list or whatnot. And what do I get for it? I don't get anything. We shouldn't be giving data for free. We should be getting something in return. But unfortunately, there's power in these big companies where, for example, going back to the airport, there are a lot of tourists that don't have a SIM card that have 4G when roaming, when you're outside of your own country. So they accept the terms and conditions. Do they read them? No, they don't. So they take that opportunity. Big companies take that opportunity to collect as much data as possible.
Let's talk about your business, your journey to being a business owner. Where did the idea for Pangaea come from, and did you and when was that something you were planning to set up for a while, or did you get disillusioned by big corporate life and go looking?
The latter. I didn't really enjoy corporate life at all. I don't like politics. I don't like just saying yes, sir, for a specific reason. If I have an opinion and I think that my opinion is actually more beneficial to the client, I will fight for that. But in a lot of the corporate world, it has to be, okay, yes, sir. Whatever you said, you want me to do that? Even if I think it's wrong, I'll do it. That's fine. And I wasn't that type of person. So my progression personally, I didn't progress as fast as I should have or I wanted to.
You became a data center expert in 24 hours.
There you go.
What
came with it?
Very
Not much.
rapid progression.
Not much. But yeah, I think, like I said before, I think I was a product of my environment. So I started looking for an out. Went to the boutique firm and continued my specialization in data and got to a point where I kind of felt comfortable. And the idea just started coming to me, where it was also in this boutique firm, it was the same thing. We were going to clients and just selling them the world, right? You're selling them the entire dictionary and you're hoping that A or B is going to catch on. If you catch one, doesn't matter if you've got the talent in-house or not. So we didn't have the talent. We went selling things that weren't our services. And if the client said yes, okay, great. We're going to go to India and get an expert in this specific thing. And we'll charge the client 50,000 dirhams and we'll give the guy a salary of 10,000 dirhams for the next 3 months. And he'll come and do it and done.
But was the client not happy with the end result?
I mean, the client was essentially happy, yes.
I mean, but now you're a business owner. Would you not just argue that's
outsourcing? Yes, it's outsourcing, and outsourcing, which I want to beat them at their own game. So I'm outsourcing the outsource to the outsource. I'm telling you, there are people that are so motivated to work that we've had instances on our platform, and I won't get into too much details because I shouldn't be sharing too much, but there are people on our platform that will bid for a project, get awarded that project, and let's say that project is $100. They will then post another project and with the exact same requirements for $50. They will get somebody to do it cheaper. They will put $50 in their pocket and pay $50. They just made $50 for doing nothing, right? So that's the same concept. So I want to beat them at their own game. If their game is outsourcing, then we can outsource too. And at least in this sense, people have their freedoms. They have their freedoms of, I'm not working for a corporate company that makes me work 9 to 6 officially, but actually they don't let me sleep. And I have to work all night and pull all-nighters. And at the end of the day, what am I getting? Paid pennies. Okay, I could go get paid pennies somewhere else, right? At least I have my freedom.
So tell me about the platform. Tell me where the idea came from.
It was actually during COVID. So during COVID, obviously,
were you still working at this point?
No. During just right before COVID, I left my job and I was in search for something new. And at that time, everybody kind of didn't do anything when it came to consulting, because obviously a lot of the consulting wasn't remote. It was, we need to meet each other, we need to see each other, and nobody was going to offices, nobody was going to clients or whatnot, right? But the world continued. It had to continue. Like, there were companies that still continued, digital companies, obviously, not physical shops. and the world had to continue. And actually, excuse me, we wanted to be prepared for when the world does open up, because no matter what people say, yeah, we might have not seen an end to COVID when it was during COVID, but it was going to come to an end eventually, and we were going to go back to normal, or whatever the new normal was. So for us, it was more about, you know what, let's develop something. And the idea, just a lot of brainstorming, a lot of going back and forth. And the idea was, you know what, let's connect the entire world. And that's actually where the name comes from. I don't know if you know a little bit of the history behind the word Pangaea.
I know there was a nightclub in England I used to go to called Pangaea, so I assume it's got similar origins.
I'm sure.
There was one in Marbella. Do you remember the one in Marbella?
Yeah, Pangaea, yeah, the white and black one. Yeah. But actually, the word Pangaea has a historical meaning of hundreds of billions of years ago, when the world was one. So the tectonic plates, obviously, they move apart, and that's what causes earthquakes and volcanoes to erupt and whatnot, whatever, right? But there was a point where all the continents were actually connected. So there was no Europe, Asia, North America, South America, Africa. There was no such thing. There was no oceans between us all. It was just one major continent, and we were all kind of connected, right? And that's where the name came. For me, I wanted to be that. It's known as a supercontinent. So I wanted to be that supercontinent for everything data, because data is the future. There's not one person in this world that doesn't create data, and there's not one company in the world that doesn't use data. Plain and simple, right? So I wanted to be that supercontinent that will bring the entire community, or that's the goal, right? The entire community of data specialists, data scientists, artificial intelligence experts, anything that is related to data, onto one platform where all clients, all companies can come to and look for whatever they need, whatever their requirement is, it's there. And we're all connected onto one platform. That's it.
And you got partners on this? Because you said at the beginning a lot of brainstorming, just brainstorming
with my team, with my old team that I took a few of them with me, developers, experts in the field, but not invested with us or anything like that, but just experts that I know personally. So just kind of talking about where we think the world is going, what's missing, is there a gap in the market, and so on and so forth. And I took it from there.
And all bootstrapped, not raised any money?
No, not raised any money. We're not at that point yet. I would like to raise money when we are worth something. Right now, I mean, we've had offers, but they're not worthwhile. The offers of giving up 10 to 20% of my company for the amount of money that will get me through 6 months is not worth it. So for me, I'm trying to build my value. The first, I want to say 24 months was a proving ground for me. So we were testing and optimizing as much as possible just to prove a formula. Now we've proved our formula and it works. Now we're concentrating more on growth. Once we reach the level that I'm personally looking for, and I think that makes enough noise in the market to either attract a giant or sell my worth, then that's when we would look for outside investment.
And just to explain to the listeners exactly what the platform is, because I know you and I were talking before we started recording, but just give it a bit of context.
So basically, we're a platform that connects freelancers only in the niche market of data. We have not only individual freelancers, but we also have service providers, which also goes into our vision of essentially eventually people or companies like Deloitte, like the boutique firm that I worked in, they will be coming to Pangaea to bid on, because an individual will only get you so far, right? And that's also part of another feature that we have developed where freelancers can come together. They can create their own virtual company on our platform. And because one person can never be an expert in everything.
Is that new? Is that new to you, unique to your platform?
Yes, it is. So we encourage freelancers to come together and work as a team and work as they can create their own virtual company essentially. and they can agree on the split. So if it's a $10,000 project and somebody thinks, okay, I'm only doing 20%, so I'm entitled to 2K. I'm doing 50% of the work, so I'm definitely entitled to 50K to 5K. So they can all agree together as a team what the split is of the project, and they can come together and work together and deliver the project deliverables.
I mean, I didn't appreciate until recently, how many businesses are actually on these platforms as well. As in businesses offering their services, not just freelancers. I mean, a couple of months ago went on People Per Hour because I needed some support on Salesforce. Put the project out there, and was staggered because I'm getting my usual bids from from guys in India, Pakistan, etc. Then I got a company in England. I say company, I mean they are a company, but I think built quite up of freelancers. Bidding at a not wildly dissimilar price to to what everybody else was. But then that comes down to personal preference, and it's not a racial thing for me, but I will find it easier to to deal with a UK person, UK company, and yes, pay a bit of a premium. I'm not going to pay 10x or 20x, but if I pay a little premium, I'll do it. But I was staggered really to see to see that these companies that are on there are actually using it as a legitimate form of marketing.
Yeah, they're using it as a legitimate form of basically, instead of going out and selling themselves and trying to find clients, they just log onto a platform and they see the projects, see what's worthwhile. If they can complete the project, okay, bid on it. And we actually we encourage that. So again, we don't have a preference to only freelancers, right? We have a preference to a service provider, and that service provider can be a freelancer or it can be a company. And when it comes to being a company, not anybody can just register a company on our platform. We have to verify them. We go through even checking their trade license. Are they a registered company? Their company profile. Are you actually experts in what you claim you are? In order for us to be able to recommend.
Would you go through that same process with a freelancer as well?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Obviously, they don't have trade licenses and things like that. But yeah,
but you check their expertise?
Yes, we do. And we're actually working on something where we'll be able to prove to a certain extent that they are experts in what they say they are, right? Because right now, it's just like interviewing somebody. If that somebody is a good bullshitter, they can claim that they're an expert in whatever it is. And if they've read enough content just to get them through the interview, you would actually fall for it, right? So we're trying to also work beyond that and get to a point where, all right, you're saying you are an expert in something, prove it. Which you would have to pass certain assessments on our platform. You would have to pass certain challenges and whatnot to be able to say that I am an expert in X software. I'm an expert in coding in Python or whatever it is.
You say you got 20,000 freelancers on there.
20,000 plus. Yeah.
Big number. I mean, how did you go and achieve those? How did you market it?
Unfortunately, it's actually a smaller number than I would have hoped. But obviously, as a startup, and for me personally, as just a new business owner, we've made a lot of mistakes.
When did you launch?
2020, end of 2020. So officially 2021 Jan, we probably did. Unofficially October 2020. We've made a lot of mistakes, which we've turned into lessons. Lessons learned, and we move forward from it, and we just keep going. Had we not made those mistakes, and those mistakes are, to be very honest with you, just mistakes of, let's say, immaturity or inexperience. Right? If I was an experienced business owner, having done this multiple times, maybe I wouldn't have made that mistake.
So tell me what you look at as one of your biggest mistakes, one of your most costly mistakes.
Trust. Trusting my outsourced firms, whatever they may be. I'm not going to go into details, but trusting that a contract means something nowadays, right? You would hope as professionals when you sign a contract, I'm paying you X amount and the agreement is you're delivering X amount. If you don't deliver, then there has to be a reason for it. If there isn't a reason for it and you're unable to deliver, then we go our separate ways. But unfortunately, as an inexperienced business owner, I fell for their excuses and just kept on saying, you know what, okay, next month will be better. Next month. And before I knew it, it was almost 24 months in.
And what would you do different next time?
Less trust and more hands-on, even if they're outsourced.
But when you say less trust, I mean, I guess once they're through the door, they're through the door. Would you just be more aggressive than letting them run for 24
Having more
months?
checkpoints, yes. Definitely having more checkpoints and holding them accountable to those checkpoints. And I will say that, yes, it was inexperience, but it's also you pay somebody or you surround yourself with somebody that is supposedly an expert in something that you're not, right? Because if I was able to do it, then I would do it myself. But I admit that I'm not a knowledge guru. I don't know everything about everything, right? So I admit that there are some places when it comes to setting up a company, when it comes to setting up a website, the design of a website, the SEO, the ranking, the Google ads, the so on and so forth. I'm not an expert in all of this. I might understand most terms because I'm very tech savvy and that's what I studied. So I understand the terms, but I didn't understand how forever changing certain algorithms are and for what you need to do to abide by their algorithmic laws, if you will, or regulations and preferences. So I would definitely just put a lot more checkpoints and hold people more accountable and be less innocent in the sense of always trusting what they say, like face value, right? I should always question, which I didn't, because I assumed, you know what, they're on my side. If I succeed, they succeed. If I continue to grow, then their contract is going to grow. So that's essentially, for me, the thought, logically speaking, that's what they would want. They would want me to succeed so they continue having a job, right? But it wasn't the case. It was more of a case of let's milk this guy as much as possible and see how much we can get away with.
Let's go back to those 20,000 freelancers. Give me a marketing boot camp for a bootstrapped tech business. How did you get them?
Trust your marketing team in the sense of their knowledge and their design. Design is very important when it comes to ads. Pick a geographical location. You can't conquer the world. That's almost impossible, at least at the very start. Pick a location and just conquer the location before you move on to somewhere else.
Where did you go to first?
We didn't conquer initially. We tried a lot of different things and saw what started working, and the UAE and the Gulf region was not it for us because they also go elsewhere for their talent, right? So for us, we wanted numbers. It was a numbers game initially, just to at least, like when somebody posts a project, at least they get 10 to 20 proposals. So we wanted, it was a numbers game. We wanted to have some sort of database at least, right? So we went to India, where the numbers prove themselves. They have the most amount of talent, and they're not all the same level of talent. They're all have a kind of hustler mentality where they're willing to work hard. A lot of them are competitive. So when it comes to a client side of the coin, it's good to have a lot of talent that's competitive because price will be competitive. And once we started having in the thousands, then you continue. Obviously, I'll never ignore our first geographical location that kind of gave us that boost. So we always continue and will always continue because the talent is forever evolving over there, and they're always growing, and they're always new, fresh graduates and so on. They're always looking for a job. But then you start expanding. You start expanding to locations that interest you and that you want to be a part of. You want to have a name in. You want to be known in, and for us was this region here. So a lot of not only freelancers but clients. So you have to run ads for both. It's not only ads for freelancers, because the freelancers don't have anything if projects don't come in. Sure. So it's a balancing game, right? Our budgets are always split. It's freelancers 60% and then the clients 40%.
And do you get strong word of mouth now for freelancers?
In this region, yes. I can't speak for the West and the States. And it's very different when we talk about Europe and the States because they're a more mature market. So they have a lot more options. But we are working our way there. We do have a lot of presence freelancer-wise. Now we've kind of gradually started getting to the point where we're concentrating a little bit more on clients from the US and Europe. But again, you can't conquer a whole continent at once. You have to pick a country and pick a city.
And do you tend to find on platforms like yours that that the clients are small businesses, one-man band type businesses, or are the big corporates? Are they starting to see the value of coming to platforms? Or are they still stuck in the ways of we need to go and waste money on a big brand too?
They're a little bit stuck in their ways, but that's okay for us. They will eventually come. So I'll always go back to it's a numbers game. So if undeniably we have the largest database in the world of data talent, right? There's going to be no question they're going to be forced to come to us. So it's a numbers game for us. And for the time being, we're just biding our time with small and medium-sized businesses. It can be as small as $50, $20. Sometimes it goes up to $500, $1,000, $5,000, but that's still relatively small. We don't take that, right? That's what the freelancer gets paid. We take a small percentage fee, which I have to mention is actually under market of all other freelancing platforms.
Who do you take that fee off? Or do you take a bit off both sides?
Off both sides, but to be fair, we do essentially it's from both sides, right? Because I mean the money is coming from the client, so and the client will get paid will pay the freelancer. We're just holding it and we connecting both. So our services are justified, and for the fee that we're asking for, because if you look at our competition or indirect competitors such as Fiverr, Upwork, Freelance.com, whatever, they almost charge a quarter of the project, which is almost 25%, I think 24 something. We're in the 17%. So we're trying to make it so we're not making too much money off of you, really. We're just maintaining our platform. We continue to change and develop and do R&D and whatnot, but that is our investment. It's not like these projects are actually being able to fund our company right now. They're still small.
And you have a specific niche of data and AI. I mean, would you expect that to grow over time? Or my other question to that would be, do the other big platforms, your Fiverrs, your people per hour, do they have any people in these niches as well? Or they're in that niche, but it's just a collection of people, freelancers, so it's hard to actually find what you want in the bubble?
It's a bit of both. They do have, but they're not as in-depth. So they would say, okay, we have data analytics expert. Okay, well, come to Pangaea. Your data analytics expert can be a data analytics expert on Excel, on Tableau, on Power BI, on specific softwares, in a specific language. We go further in depth than what is available on other platforms. And it's not that they don't exist out there. Of course they do. It's very hard to invent something that no one has ever invented in the world nowadays, right? Everybody has similar ideas, and
we leave that to Elon.
Yeah, which is the 0.01% of the world, the very special people.
Well, Jadd, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to try this platform tonight because I told you before we started recording that I've got some AI requirements. So I'm going to give it a first-hand whirl.
Sure.
For anyone like me who can't spell Pangaea, give yourself a little shout-out mention of how they can find you, how they can either connect with you or go and try the platform out.
I mean, they can connect with me on LinkedIn, Jadd Elliot Dib. If not, Pangaea, directly with the company, Pangaea X, PangaeaX.com. PangaeaX.com. That's it.
Perfect. And before you go, I want you to tell any business owner listening why, if they don't embrace AI, they are guaranteed to a very dramatic failure.
I mean, it's not nice to say, but there are ways of saving money. Instead of paying 100 employees to do their job, you could be paying 10, 15, 20 employees instead of 100. And if you want to keep those employees, they can upskill themselves. They can upskill themselves to help you in a different way. They can go out and sell. They can make you more money. And if you're not using it internally for your own company, then just for sales in general, targeted sales. Data is your answer to your growth problems. You're thinking about how am I going to grow? There's so many competitors out there. There's so many restaurants that serve the same thing. How do I get an upper hand on that? It's targeted sales. How do you target? You target according to data. You have data. It's free. It's right there. You have data coming from social media, from Facebook, Instagram, whatnot. There are audiences out there, right? And you're just trying to, you're targeting mindlessly most of the time. Target properly. Make data-driven decisions.
You've been warned, guys. Jadd, thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you.